now we're talking about the huge story of the last kind of week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, of Serena Williams.
Definitely not 2 weeks because
It happened
after our last podcast.
Last Saturday.
Well, but before that,
Friday.
it was the cat suit thing. But I guess it's a different
Well, you
story.
spoke about that recently,
But
didn't you?
she's been in the news a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I was thinking Victoria Beckham for some reason.
Yeah, the cat suit thing was technically a different story, but
Well, Victoria Beckham did a shoot and she was in a cat suit. And then for some reason it was on BBC News. And I was like, why is this on here?
Why these guys keep coming up with these photo shoots? I'm not interested.
Well, clearly some people are.
Yeah.
Because they're doing them. Anyway, so this is where do you start? Okay, obviously we should probably start with the original, like, what happened.
Should we put a
the
disclaimer?
whole story.
Should we put a disclaimer that we're all men
Yeah.
and
Disclaimer,
white?
we are
Three
all
of us
men,
Three
and none
white.
of us
Alright,
know how
African-American.
sexism works.
Yeah.
And none of us know how tennis works.
Yeah.
Hey, I know how tennis
Okay, I
works.
don't know.
Vaguely.
I used to play tennis a lot. It is a very frustrating sport.
Yeah. It's a sport where you're in your own head the whole
Yes, it's just you and someone else out there, and you can get so angry during that sport.
If you want an interesting podcast about anger issues in tennis, Alec Baldwin's podcast, he did one with John McEnroe about the mentality of it, and it is the most fascinating podcast to listen to of the guy, like the angry tennis guy, talking about the mentality kind of issues with how tennis works,
Yeah.
of just like the isolation and the endurance, because it's like
They play long games.
how long does it take a tennis?
Some could,
It's more than a couple of hours.
Depends the game,
Well,
but-
women's game, if you got like 40 minutes per set, and it's best of 3, it can be an hour, it can be 2, it can be an hour and a half, it can be 2 hours,
Yeah, sometimes
it can be
in
2.5, 3
pure
hours.
sunlight by
Yeah,
yourself.
well, it's very hot. It's
usually it's
US
a summer
Open, so
sport.
it's their summer. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
they've had a hot one, so they had some 40-degree days earlier in the tournament. I'm not sure what the temperature was for the
Australian
final.
Open's always boiling hot.
Yeah.
And they play till like 1 o'clock at night
Yeah.
because they're scheduling.
Well,
stuff.
anyway, this was the women's final between Naomi Osaka
From
of Japan, but she's actually grown up in America from the age of 3, so
Okay.
she's Japanese because she gets a lot of support from Japan, so they chose to play under that flag because she's a dual citizen, I guess.
Yep.
She was born there. She's half Haitian, so she's a woman of color as well. She's like not white.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is jumping ahead a bit, but
Well, we'll
I
come
don't.
back to it.
Everything kind of racist that's coming out of it isn't about the actual tennis match. It's about the artwork that came out later. But we'll get back to that later.
Well, we'll start with the tennis because the tennis match is pretty interesting in what happened. So Naomi Osaka has actually won the first set against Serena Williams, and it's during the second set that the umpire spots Serena Williams' coach making a hand gesture towards her.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which
thumbs
we
up.
found out afterwards. The coach admitted it was coaching. He was trying to give her some kind of pointer with his signaling. It doesn't look like Serena actually saw it though, and it's also incredibly common for coaches to do that.
Yeah.
It seems
The full interview with the coach, which it really depends on which article you read with this one. A lot of the things about this story are kind of people trying to present their opinions of it and not kind of presenting the whole story, which is one of the reasons my opinions changed on it honestly like 10 times. Because when you read the articles, they pick and choose what they're putting in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people put that the coach admitted that he was coaching, but they don't put the 2 minutes of how he talks about, I coach like every game that I do.
Yeah,
I do
and
this.
the
and
other
every
coach
does this.
The other
every
coach
game
in
they
this
do.
game
yeah.
was probably doing it.
And he says, I've never been caught before in my whole career. You check the stats, like because I thought it was weird at first when he admitted, because I was like, why are you throwing your person under the bus? But when you listen to the whole thing, it's like, oh no, he's talking about how dumb it is that he actually called coaching.
There's levels of coaching as well, because I've seen players get in trouble because the coach has actually yelled something audible.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that the umpire has given her a code violation because of coaching.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to get coached. I think it's part of the idea in tennis is that you're on your own out there. And it is that kind of isolated, like you are alone with whatever is happening out there and you have to be able to deal with it. It's very much a mental game as well.
It's very odd for any kind of sport to have no coaching.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Super
and I think this is sort of an example where it's like it's very hard to consistently apply this because it seems to be about what the coaches do.
Yeah.
It's not what the player does. So in this case, she's got a code violation, but what has she done wrong?
But that's part and parcel. It's the coach's fault.
But it's a silly rule. Like, you
It
can't
is. It's a
define
stupid
it.
rule.
You're trying to defend it right now.
Oh, I'm not. But that's the rule. And what can you do? Like everyone.
That's the rule. Is not
the
an
context-
adequate excuse.
Well, the problem is the context is they know he's a stickler for the rules. He's
Hmm.
called up players on time violations in other big games like Nadal, etc.
Time violation is very much different because that's the player themselves doing
Yeah.
something that they are fully in control of.
But that's still, Jono. It doesn't matter if it's the player or the coach. It's still the rule. Like, and that is known. And it's a dumb rule. Yes, I agree. But if you get called up for it, you can't blame.
Would you
anyone
say that
else
if the other
for
coach
not
had
for
been
it.
doing it?
Yeah, if they said the same thing.
No,
Let's
but
keep
if the
going
other
with the story
coach
before
did
we
Keep
it,
going,
actually
but I'm
argue
saying
the
it's
point.
a rule.
the
We can't
defense
get
is
away
that the
from
other
that.
coach was doing it,
Yeah,
and
but
they
is
didn't
that-
get called up for it.
Okay, well, maybe he didn't see it, but it's down to interpretation of the referee, right?
It is, but that's the kind of the essence of a dumb rule.
And
Yeah, well,
I-
it is a dumb rule. I'm not disqualifying that, but we said he's pulled it up, his opinion, and you have to stand by it. That's the way you're taught in sport.
I think one of the good things in this, which I think is interesting, is that all the ref people and even the association has actually backed the ref
But they always
because
would, of course.
technically he hasn't done anything wrong. It's
He's-
more everyone just thinks
Yeah,
he kind of overdid it.
yeah. Well,
That's
it
not
might-
strange because he's also a very high end. He's refereeing a finals,
And it's a grand slam.
So he's obviously really high up.
Yeah, well, he's what they call a gold chair or something like that,
Mm.
the highest level it could be. And in my opinion, he probably should have given a warning, saying, "Look, I've seen this. Do it again, and it's going to be a point violation." Not sure if that happened before, but that's the way you probably would have approached it.
it did count as a warning though. So I don't know.
That is
I don't
what
know
a
if that's
warning
true.
Yeah, but maybe it could have been more like a talk to before some kind of official kind of.
But
First
the
point.
context of the violation, you can't remove it from the fact that it sounds like it happens all the time.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds like he didn't call it when it was happening during the very game.
Yeah, but like,
So you can't, I don't think, argue that it was fair.
but the problem is, John, it's about what they see, right? And this is a rule, and if it happens one way, it happens another way. It's going to happen another time to another player. It's in any kind of sport, like someone gets a yellow card for this in football. Oh, this guy didn't get it. They've been doing
Yeah,
the
but in
same
this
thing.
case, I wouldn't defend it saying it's the rule. I would say that's a dumb rule.
It is a dumb rule, and we're not saying that. But
So,
it
like,
is
given
rule.
the effort that it's bad in
We
sport.
actually haven't
whenever.
gotten to like,
Okay,
the
but
story.
but the thing is, like, she defends herself here, which is fine. She says, "Look, I didn't see it. That you're calling me a cheater." She makes her point there, and she's
Yeah.
quite civil about it.
Yeah. she's nice.
That's
Yeah.
totally fine.
So Serena obviously she objects to the idea that she's cheated by getting coaching, right?
Yeah.
She says she didn't see anything.
Very level-headed.
Yeah, and she's actually super level-headed. And if you watch the whole thing, you're not coming away thinking she's throwing a tantrum or being entitled.
No,
She's just saying, "Look, I'm not a cheater. I would never want to cheat.
Yeah.
That's not
Which
I
is-
wasn't getting coached."
If you watch the 2-minute version, it makes her look really bad.
Yes, because later on she gets really angry. But then, it's tennis, and a lot of people get really angry on a tennis court. It just happens.
The second thing I don't think anyone's trying to defend or say you shouldn't do that though. I think everyone kind of agrees. It seems to be the only thing everyone agrees on was that breaking your racket shouldn't be okay.
Yeah.
That was
and it's not okay. So she understands that's not okay, but she
Yeah.
thinks she's getting her first violation.
But the way the kind of violations work is it kind of builds, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is
So
where the
if
problem
she's clearly not understood that the first one was an official code violation. So the second violation, she breaks her racket later because she's frustrated. She lost a point.
I think the understanding was that she thought it got taken back
which it
in the game.
it probably can't.
apparently
Right?
can't. Yeah.
This was the one thing I was trying to check, but I couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
Is
You
there's-
can't get
usually
taken
with
away.
ref stuff you can't take back
No,
once you've blown the whistle kind of thing, right?
No. can't.
That's a pretty common sport thing, right?
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was weird that she thought it got taken back. It was like,
Yeah,
you're the
she
greatest
should
of
have known
all
that.
time in this sport.
Yeah.
Everyone says it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it doesn't happen a lot, this rule. And it is a dumb rule, so they should probably get rid of it, really. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in defense of the rule, you'll just end up with people yelling, coaches
Yeah.
yelling a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's just one of those gross cases where you never want something, especially the final of a Grand Slam,
to be like, yeah.
to have you don't want to know the ref did anything. You don't want to know the umpire did anything, right? That's the worst thing in sport is
Especially in
at
the
the end
final.
of the game, you ever mention the umpire.
Yeah.
Perfect umpiring, you never notice they're doing it.
Unless they were doing
That's
something
right.
really, really wrong.
Yeah.
Which
Unless they've let something fly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
you
that's why everyone's
shouldn't be
annoyed.
talking about
Which
them.
probably
It's
doesn't
like the
happen
bass
much in
player in a
tennis.
band. You should not know they're there. If you
Did we
notice
get
them, they're doing something wrong.
Did we get onto the third violation?
Yeah,
So
no,
the
we're
third
still going
violation,
through it.
Go to
we're still
second.
going through it. She's broken a racket. That's you can't argue with that one.
Yeah.
That's a code violation. But she's under the impression, seemingly genuinely, that she is, that was her first violation.
Yeah.
So she's gotten a point penalty. So
I think
she
she's
starts
been
the next
unlucky
game
there.
15-love.
Like, she doesn't really smash it that hard. She kind of just throws it almost.
It
Yeah,
breaks, right?
it breaks. There's like videos of Djokovic
Yeah, you see, I know
smashing
they're
his racket
smashing it.
repeatedly on the ground and
Yeah.
it doesn't
Or
break.
against the umpire chairs and
I
stuff.
think
and
their rackets might be different though.
she is the greatest
the
of all
weights.
time, though. So she's probably just
Well,
stronger, right?
I think
Margaret,
they have
Margaret
different,
Court's up there
different
with her.
rackets.
I
Anyway,
think she has the same titles as Margaret Court.
yeah,
What
right.
does that
Yeah.
mean?
Same number of titles.
Grand Slams.
Yeah. She doesn't actually play that many tournaments. So this is she's yeah. Anyway,
Okay, but also the comment on is that a lot of people use this kind of racket smashing to take off the concentration of the other player, so to stuff up their rhythm. Like you make a scene, you destroy your racket, you really just kind of unsettle them when they're in a groove.
Yeah.
But watching the footage, it's not like she does that. It's just frustration.
It seems
Yeah.
like she's
Yeah.
unraveling the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
time.
and she's still clearly angry from earlier.
Yeah.
So it just builds up. This is again, it's tennis. Like you'll never feel more frustrated than out there on a tennis court and you're losing, and she's trained for this more than anyone, any keyboard warrior commenting on it, any journalist talking about it, like any of them. She would train so much.
Yeah. To deal with this high pressure situation.
Yeah. So like when she says so during the rant that she goes on, is it for the third violation or the second violation she brings up? No, it's the third violation she brings up, sexism. So the third violation is she's going on a rant about the point that was taken off her, and it goes on for a long time. And the umpire's not like, he's just trying to be like, this is the rules. It doesn't
think
seem like he's like
it
he's not
starts off quite-
angry or aggressive.
Yeah, it starts off quite civil where she's like,
Yeah.
look, you took a point off me, you owe me an apology. She makes her point.
Yeah.
She's kind of standing up for himself and goes, oh, look, and it seemed quite
Yeah.
civil, the conversation. But for me, there's like, not just one, this happens like 3 separate occasions she has a conversation with him and it escalates.
Yeah. Well, the final straw for the umpire was she said, "You're a thief as well."
Yeah.
And then he said, "That's a code violation for verbal abuse."
Yeah. But before that, I think the second one says, you'll never be on a court with me again.
Yeah.
For me, that's changed from this to malicious.
I didn't get what she meant by that. Like
She
every time
never-
she said it, I didn't quite get
You're
it.
not going to umpire. on
She's
the same
basically
court as me.
suggesting that she's going to use the fact that she's a big name that to mean that she's not going to play with this guy, so they're not going to put him on.
Right.
Essentially,
Which she
she's
probably
threatening
could.
him. And in this moment, he has the power because he's the umpire. But outside of it, who has the power? She does. She's the big name. She's a draw card. If she says, I'm not going to be in this tournament because this umpire's here, they're going to listen to her because she has the sponsors. She has the draw card.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, and all those people are there to watch
Well,
her.
the
not
commercial
to hear
interest
him
would,
umpire.
yes. The commercial interest is maybe the umpire organisation
but I
would
think
say
she
no.
deserves that power.
I don't think so. I don't think you can threaten someone.
She's the one
'Cause
people
you-
are paying to watch, man.
Yeah,
They're not
but-
there for the umpire.
But you can't say that to people, Jono. It's
I
like
don't
any
know.
kind of situation.
He seems
if your
like he's
boss
on a bit
says
of a
you're not
power
going to be
trip.
here because I have more power than you, it's
Yeah.
a threat. This is like, and if he doesn't get more work, that's his livelihood.
Yeah.
You can't threaten someone's job.
I don't assume that they're good. Like I grew up watching cricket, Australia versus Sri Lanka. Like we had Daryl Hare making these calls just because he didn't like Murali. Like I don't make the assumption that because an umpire does something, they're right. And like I don't think it's a good assumption to make. I think there's a lot of other umpires who've managed to go through things like this without ever it blowing up like this.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad sign on him. It
I
shouldn't have
actually-
been about them. It didn't need to get to this
Yeah,
point.
but the problem is she berates him 3 times. She makes her point and then she threatens him and then calls him a thief. So it's not that you've said thief. There's worse things that people say to him, but it's the continuation, right? If it's a frustration in a moment, you can understand it. But it's kind of continued on for a minute or two where she's having this conversation. And possibly he could have done more to de-escalate the situation. But
Well, it kind of stopped, and then he gave a game violation.
well, what's he meant to do? You can't say that. You can't like if it's dissent.
He
You
has
can't
to
go
wait
up
for
to
it to
an
stop
umpire or
talking.
referee in any kind of football game, any sport you ever play. If someone gets a yellow card, you can't say, "Oh, you can't do that. That's bull crap." You get another yellow. It's done.
This
Like I don't understand what I know this game is much more you're in your own head, but the rules are there for a reason, right?
No, I get the third
They're 'cause they're
violation. I'm
old.
actually kind of on the same side as Dip, as in where I kind of come down on the whole thing is the umpire isn't really wrong at any point. Obviously, he's interpreted it very strongly,
Yeah.
and it really sucks. Like it's just a crap situation in every way, and clearly she's kind of her temper's just gotten the better of her.
Yeah.
But I think with the second and third call were completely justified by the ref. Like he was doing, I think he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. Like maybe he could have taken care of. The one annoying thing that I wish was in this video when you're watching it was actually hearing what the umpire was saying to her,
Yeah, which you don't.
which you'd hope that it would be like respectful and
I think I'm sure it would have
it
been.
looks
Yeah.
like it is, but
Yeah.
you can't because
You
He's
Sure.
he's a straight arrow, right?
'Cause for
he
some-
would have just been saying, "These are the rules. This is what I've done. I've given you the first violation. I have to take the point off on the second one."
yeah,
Yeah.
because the
He would have
audio
been
of her is
explaining
bloody crystal clear for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah,
But for some
yeah.
reason, you can't hear the ref
They probably don't have mics around them, I suspect.
except the one to speak to the whole
Yeah.
stadium.
It's probably turned off.
I can definitely see your like what you're going for there. I just think
the
it's
ref's
just,
in charge. You don't disrespect the ref.
Yeah, I mean that's a
Yeah.
simple rule of any sport. If you don't understand that, then you've missed the whole point.
And
I
people
just
always do it,
feel like-
especially superstars.
And the problem,
especially do
problem is, like, look, she's a role model, right? She's a strong African American woman. She's very loved in America, across the world, particularly America. A lot of young people would look up to her. And if this is the behavior that you show to a referee, she's made a point saying, "Look, I don't think that's right," and that's fine.
Yeah.
But when you go on to say, "Look, you're never going to be on the same court as me again," and then saying you're a thief, which is dissent, then I can understand why that's wrong. And I think that behavior is wrong.
it's wrong, but it's also emotion, and
Yeah,
I
but
just think
it's-
you can't expect them to be automatons,
Yeah, I know, but I think
and you wouldn't want them to
But
be.
the
It would
thing
be bad
is,
for the sport
I
if
think
they
people
were.
understand frustration in a moment, but when it's continued,
It
and
wasn't
it's-
that long a period of time.
But it's good too. It's a good.
It was
minute or
between
two.
one game. It
You
was the
can-
break in one game.
Yeah, but it's Johnny. You got to understand sport. In any other kind of sport, you say one thing off and you're off.
No,
It is
not.
totally.
I watched soccer players berating the umpires
and they
after they
get-
made a call.
most of the time they
None
get
of them
sent.
got
No,
sent off in
they
the World
don't.
Cup.
Soccer's the
I
worst.
watched all those
No.
games.
I
They
can't
were
handle
yelling.
soccer.
They were
run
in
out
their
the
They
face.
just yell at
Two
the
hand
ref.
gesturing in
You
their
might have
faces.
picked the wrong sport.
John,
for that
I've watched a
example.
lot more football than you have. Trust me.
Oh, I've watched a lot more tennis than you have,
Okay.
so
But that's a continued. Like all you can say that it's civil. Okay, well we need to stop here, and she's continued on.
Yeah,
I don't
'cause
think
she's
we
still
can
emotional
justify her
about it.
actions.
Yeah, and
of
then
saying that she's right here.
we
She
didn't
stood up for
actually
herself
say
great.
how it finished yet as well.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so part of the rant that she's going on, so because she calls for the referee after the game violation, so that's the higher authority, but he can't change the
he's not
ruling
doing
of the umpire. He comes out and he asks what's happened, and
It seems like everyone's just trying to explain to her what happened, and she's just not having it. It's
Yeah.
kind of what it's. Again, you
Yeah.
can't hear what. It's like they put the mics on mute when the refs are talking.
yeah.
And
You
when
can
she's
hear
talking,
everything
they
she's
turn up
saying.
the
Everything.
audio like all the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, they probably do.
Yeah.
She does bring up the idea that what she's experienced is sexism.
Which
That gets very hairy because there's a lot of examples of this umpire doing the exact same thing with men.
especially when, like, should you like? I get it. So there is obviously sexism in sport. I don't think anyone would argue against that
No.
at some level. But
And none of
Nick
us
Koo would.
would. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nick Koo would.
Yeah,
None of us would
there
really.
are men who've said a lot more worse things, but
I don't think that argument comes into it in
I think
any way in this particular.
In this case, you have to
situation.
look at this umpire and what he's done in the past and say
Yeah.
whether he's shown favoritism, but depending on their gender. And I don't think there's evidence that he does that because I watched a video today of him doing the same thing to Djokovic.
Yeah, and like so,
He's
obviously
consistent. I don't agree with how he umpires, but he's consistent.
So another example where it clearly was a sexist thing was the shirt thing a couple of weeks ago. Like that was
Yeah.
a really obvious situation of, man, this
yeah.
is not
they're
right.
treated
Yeah.
differently.
This is unfair.
yeah, and that was like, yeah.
But the Serena Williams thing in particular is like it's not. I don't think unfair is the right word. I'd say she'd have a better argument that the refs being like that to her because she's the greatest of all time. Like, I think it's more her status than anything that would get her like called against. Do you know what I mean?
But she was like, that's an impossible thing to actually
prove,
show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think the association or anything is kind of back down on it because they're like,
well, the Women's Association backed her, saying that it was sexism.
Yeah, and a lot of
the ATP was like, no, it wasn't.
And it seems like every kind of tennis player
has an opinion on it.
Yeah,
is usually on her side.
Yeah,
and saying the ref was just harsh.
Yeah,
it's kind of seems to be the general consensus.
It's so tricky because you can see how it evolved for both of them. You can see how the umpire ended up doing what he did, and you can see how Serena ended up getting to where she did, and you can see her frustration growing as her rant goes on. That's the point when she brings up sexism, is when she's really frustrated. Like before she's really level, like she's got a straight voice, like she's kept really calm. But then like she sort of breaks a little.
When you stop arguing about tennis in the tennis match to the umpire, I think the argument doesn't really make sense.
For me, it's kind of two different points, right? It's like, I agree the ref was harsh and he could have done better, for sure. I think she's been wrong as well. And the annoying thing in that narrative, and then I think there is probably sexism in tennis, where probably women are treated a lot more harshly, but I don't think it should be something for an excuse for someone's behaviour. I don't. It's like it's that fallacy where it's like whataboutisms, right? So it's like, oh, what about this? So I've done this, but what about someone's done this?
Yeah, you can pick and choose.
It's two separate points, kind of thing. And I think they're all. And I think she's right. And there is probably sexism that is plagued in this sport. And knowing her, she's a strong African American woman that's grown up, probably facing huge racism in this sport, sexism in her whole life. And to be where she is on top of the world at the moment is, testament to her, right?
Yeah. I mean, super sucky, because also Naomi Osaka she won the first set. Yeah. She got 4 breaks against Serena's 1. So she was doing really well.
Yeah.
But the fact that the game was given, like, it kind of taints it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think no one would argue that the better player won on the day, but the fact that like a tennis game can turn, especially in the second set, like
she's done it before.
They've only got it's best of 3, so you've won the first set, but that's pretty normal for the loser to win the first set or to win a set.
Losing a whole game though is huge.
Yes, because it meant that she went from being 4-3 to 5-3, and she smashed her serve. So then Serena served, and she won to love. And then Naomi had to serve it out for the win, and you expect people to hold their serve, but she did ground strokes like that. Like she was, it sucks because she was the better one, and that this has made it less amazing.
It's going to be remembered for this.
That's why. That's for me. That's why it's like, oh, I wish. I mean, obviously, I wish Serena had noticed that first thing was a code violation, and it didn't escalate to that point.
Yeah.
I wish the umpire was better at his job, because it's a failure of his job for it to have gotten to that point. Because there's heaps of tennis players are prima donnas. They are, and they're way worse than what she was doing, and they managed to get through games, and it's not decided by the umpire.
Yeah, and
so I think that's the sign of good umpiring, is that you make sure the game happens and it's fair.
Yeah,
but you don't intervene in a way that affects the outcome.
Yeah, you hear the parallels of like, you don't take LeBron James out of the finals, like, and it's like, it's true, like it's the grand final of like one of the biggest tournaments.
Yeah, and it's
on your planet.
It's the work that they put in and day out. I mean, apparently Naomi Osaka had been really depressed coming into the tournament because she had really bad results. It's an amazing story, and the hard work that goes into it. She doesn't even own a car, and she was like saying with the winnings she was going to buy something nice for her parents. She's awesome.
Yeah,
and it's so sad that it's just like, we shouldn't be talking about this.
We got comments. Evelyn says, "Don't worry, I'm here to keep you all in line."
Thanks, Ev.
She shouldn't be blamed for what her coach does, which is kind of
That's some of the stupidity of the rule.
That's the dumbness of the rule, but it is the rule.
Because like, what if anyone in the crowd is doing something like that?
Yeah, but it's your coach, right? It's a bit different than just a fan.
You're not going to listen to it, just anyone.
I mean, like, it seems
you
like
could plant someone, but
that's what I mean. Like, if it's
that's true. Yeah, you could plant someone there.
There's
in a totally different spot.
Of people there.
The coach has got like a little wire, and they're like, okay, do this signal.
Yeah.
Like, so, if you really wanted to coach, it seems like you could in this sport.
So it's silly rule. We're all in
agree
agreement
about
that
that.
is.
And
a
Nick
silly
says,
rule.
didn't Serena get a warning first? And it's like, yes, she did, but
That
the
was
warning,
the warning.
Yes, the
technically
code
violation
is the
warning.
first in 3 steps of
Yeah.
where it got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she obviously didn't realize that because she was so shocked when she lost a point.
The wording is confusing.
There
'cause
must be
you
like
think
an official
wouldn't
warning
mean
though,
something.
right? Like it must be like this is an official warning as
Maybe
opposed
she get
to
like lights up.
yeah.
Like you've got
Other,
this like
other players do speak of getting soft warning.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like Andy Roddick was like, yeah, I've said heaps worse. And
There's
yeah,
a-
like soft warning
Mm.
before.
There's actually a chart
violations.
here that's kind of like, I don't know if you can read that.
you wonder if they get
First
so
warning,
many...
first offense warning, second chance, second offense point penalty.
We haven't even got to the cartoon, but you have to wonder how many
Can't
like
read.
how many umpires they would have for their games during a whole tournament. It's like, do they have to actually remember? Oh, this is the umpire who will actually do this.
Yeah.
It's like if
Oh,
different
I think-
umpires are different, I
I-
could imagine that being hard to track.
No, I don't think so. I
They
think as a
would know.
professional sportsman and as has a whole team around you,
Mm.
you know everything. You
Yeah.
would be so planning
Someone would
for
be like,
everything.
okay, this guy, this is this.
There'd be analysis on everything. So
Yeah.
I don't agree with that sentiment.
Sarah says, I agree with Jono about the emotion. And Evelyn says later, if that is the rules, then fair enough that the umpire called her on it, as long as he's calling everyone on it.
Yeah,
Which
but
is what everyone's
that's
problem
everyone's
is, right?
argument about any kind of rule ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
So anyway, this leads to everyone's reactions to it, right?
Yeah.
Do we have time?
No, I think it honestly, it just seems like, I think okay. Well, one other thing
You got time?
in that I watched the post-match thing of the interview with her,
Mm.
and I don't like she turns it into a whole debate about sexism, which is good to have, but I think with such a controversial, divisive kind of event that happened, it's almost, I don't know if it's like made it better or worse, because
I think
she's not perfect in this situation.
No, of course.
Like
And
far from it.
that's my problem. If first thing she comes out, look, I apologize for my behavior. You know, the emotions got better. Like that puts everyone on your side. Do you know what I mean?
But the post-match interview, she's
Yeah.
like, the first time I heard it, I'm like, oh, that's actually awesome. But then I thought about it, I'm like,
yeah,
you could have done this better.
yeah.
Which, like, you can say about anyone. Like,
Anyway, yeah, that's right. We're not in
What
this
are we
you're
doing?
situation,
you're
right?
in
Yeah.
like the one of the most high-pressure situations you've ever been in.
Yeah. How would
You're
react?
probably not going to act perfectly.
Mm,
But it was kind of like, this isn't going to help me at all, was kind of how she talked.
mm.
But I hope that this, like, starts something for kind of women coming down the line, was kind of like what she was hoping for.
Mm.
Which I thought was a bit strange,
Mm.
because it's like you started a sexism debate in the middle of your losing because of penalties.
Mm.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if it. It's hard to say it helps because a lot of people are looking at this going, no, that wasn't sexism.
Mm.
And then that if you bring up the argument in a time when it's not obvious, like with the t-shirt thing, it was obvious. Everyone was like, oh, that's really obvious sexism. This is a
Yeah.
real thing.
Mm.
And then when someone says it for something like this, they're like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's sexism. Sexism isn't a real thing.
But at
It's
this,
like that
yeah,
opposite effect.
absolutely. But at the same time, it's very. I find it very hard to discount her experience
Hmm.
Mm.
because I haven't played tennis. I haven't lived as a woman or an African American. I haven't done any of the things that she has done. So it's hard for me to say, oh, she's crazy. This has nothing to do with sexism.
Mm.
When she's done all these things and seen all these things. And
Yeah,
had
you would
these
imagine it comes
experiences,
from a real
It's got to
place.
come from somewhere.
Yeah, it comes from a real place, doesn't it?
If a lot of other stuff has happened to her that was sex that you wouldn't have seen because it wasn't on a
Exactly.
Grand Slam final, it wasn't on TV.
Exactly.
I thought another interesting point was like, I thought the commentators are right, but you know, a lot of the narrative is like, oh, you throw a tantrum, you're a diva. Well, those are obviously sexist terms, right? Because if
Or
it's
hysterical. I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
if
because
it's
what
a
do you
man,
say?
It's
What do
like
you
you're
say for a
passionate,
man?
like LeBron's passionate, right?
Yeah.
But I think in Australia it's not so bad. Like maybe America it is because you know we're like, oh, they've lost their head. Like we say that all the time, and we've got Kyrgios and Tomek, and we're like, those guys are tossers, right? And they lose
Yeah.
their heads all the time.
Yeah,
So for us, we kind of understand that's what our male tennis players do.
yeah.
Yeah. I think but let's talk about what happened after that with the cartoon thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm trying to go. I guess none of us really differ on opinion on this, but so
well,
we'll
so
go through it.
so there's a caricature artist, a cartoonist
Mm.
for the Herald Sun and some other News Corp, which is owned by Murdoch.
Yep.
Important context.
Groupie.
A name by the name of Mark Knight, and he drew a cartoon about this for the Herald Sun in Melbourne, and it shows Serena in the foreground stomping on her racket, having spat a dummy out. And in the background you have a very white umpire asking a very white Naomi Osaka if she can just lose the match to make her feel better.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird aspect of it.
Yeah, why is Osaka white?
Because I saw the cartoon
She's
was
so
one of
not
the
white.
first things I saw about this, and then I watched the actual footage. I'm like, oh, they're I'm not going to say that, but like neither of them are white at all,
Yeah.
like in any way.
So the problem and the reason this has caught a lot of attention is because he has caricatured Serena Williams, and that is basically the same way that black people were caricatured all through the early 1900s, late 1800s, as Jim Crow era, big lips, massive cheekbones, just
ape-like features.
ape-like features.
Yeah.
And just the fact that that is the context, right? Like, you can't remove any kind of communication from the context it exists in.
Especially when you've made the person you're trying to make look good a white blonde person.
Yes, and she's definitely not white. She has light hair, but
She has
she's not
that
white.
white skinned.
She's not the same tone as the umpire, who's also whiter than he actually is. It's okay. So the defense of the cartoonist, if we wanted to defend him, first of all, when you say someone's done something racist, is it the action or the thing itself, or is it their intention?
I think the intention matters, but it's the action. So the intention matters in like his defense, I would say, but
yeah,
the thing's still racist.
Kind of like in his defense, I don't think he was trying to bring up Jim Crow, because like, why would you do that? That's really weird.
Seem like career suicide, would it?
Not if you work for Murdoch.
Yeah, if you Murdoch, you get promoted.
If you work for Murdoch, you're going straight to the top.
Here we go, boy. He's my new CEO.
Which they completely backed him, didn't they?
Yeah, obviously, because they join in with the whole like, everything that the left says is just PC gone wrong, and there's no criticism.
They published this on their front page the next day or something, wasn't it?
Well, they
Or a couple of
published
days.
that along with a bunch of other cartoons. So, because the point is, like, he does draw other stuff, and he's a caricature artist. So, if you're a caricature artist, everyone looks terrible.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem is that the Jim Crow cartoons were also caricatures.
Yeah.
So, it's the same art form. It's the same art style. The problem is, the way you look at this cartoon is going to depend on whether you feel like the features that he's exaggerated on her are actually Serena Williams features, or because it's a caricature, it will depend on how you look at it, right? Your perspective. You're either going to look at it and go, he's just using the Jim Crow picture of a black person. He's using all of the stereotypes of black people to draw that picture.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's racist. Or you look at it and go, he's exaggerated the features of Serena Williams, like every caricature artist does. Therefore, it's not racist. And it just depends on how you see it. Like, you look at the picture, and if you don't know the context of those cartoons, the Jim Crow ones, which a lot of people don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of blew up on Twitter from a lot of American people who were.
J.K. Rowling as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She posted on Twitter and just went. I can't remember what the quotes were, but everyone was just calling it out for being really racist. I think because communication happens in context, and as a cartoonist, I feel like this guy should know about those cartoons, because it's like literally looking at this is my art form, and this is an example of when it was used terribly. So I feel like you would know about something like that.
And I feel like if you're like, I'm going to draw an African American person, then I may want to make sure I'm not doing the same.
Yeah,
thing.
but he's going to defend his work, saying, "Look, I make everyone look ridiculous."
Yeah, I know.
Like, he's got a picture of Kyrgios from earlier this week, and he's like, he's equally ridiculous, but there isn't the kind of context behind it.
Behind that,
Actually, to be fair, with the Kyrgios one, he's kind of drawn as a typical Arab guy, and there is history of cartoons of Arab people that look pretty, that were used to put down. Yeah,
I think the weird thing, on just another kind of fact about it, is the characters are usually politicians who you pretty much don't think even have a soul. so this argument would never come up
Yeah.
in a different context of
Yes.
someone that's not
Yeah.
so beloved.
And largely in Australia, they're not. They're usually white. They're white people.
We have definitely got prior with accidental racism as well in Australia,
Mm.
because there's some things that is not part of our culture that we know this is a bad thing. It's not to say that we're not racist. It's just that our racism is very different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I remember Hey Hey It's Saturday
Oh yeah.
before they cancelled it. Remember Harry Connick Jr. was on and someone came out in blackface,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You can't do that."
Yeah.
But like in Australia, like, well,
Yeah.
is there a history of that? We don't have
Yeah,
a
and the history.
we don't have a movie
No.
industry that goes back that far that did that,
Mm.
right? So, I mean, we were terrible to like indigenous people. So it's like
Mm.
we do have context. We just not the way that we sort of deal with it.
Mm.
Actually, we don't really deal with it. We just put it under a rug.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think there's like times when we do stuff in Australia that, like in the Twitter world, everything's connected. But in his mind, his audience is the people who buy the newspaper in Melbourne.
Mm.
And what he's not like, obviously if it's an American audience, you're going to know, okay, this evokes
Mm.
these Jim Crow cartoons. But if you're making it for an Australian audience like Chris,
Yeah.
don't know.
I also
Never seen that.
But I also immediately thought that's racist, right?
To me,
Right.
it's. I've been trying to like formulate my actual thoughts on this because I think it's. Like it's yes, it is a racist depiction. I think when it comes down to it,
Hmm.
but I'd say all caricatures are racist, and that's kind of the point. Not the point, but like
They don't have that.
they're not
context of
they're
Jim
not
Crow, though.
positive. They're not making people look good.
Mm.
Yeah, but that's Waleed Ali's point, right? It's a normal character is taking a person's features and
Yeah.
exaggerating them. A racist caricature is taking a person's color
Mm.
and then doing it based on the stereotype of their color.
I agree with that argument at first, but then I looked at the picture again and I said, "What?" Like
She obviously doesn't look like that.
but you
in
know
real
it's
life.
Serena Williams.
You know it's Serena Williams because, but it's like how do you distort what she actually looks like to get to your caricature?
So do you think? Let's just workshop something. But do you think if the
Dangerous.
if the no, let's just say the face was a lot more regular looking, do you think this would be totally okay?
I think maybe the action of the jumping up and down doesn't look good as well.
I think people would
To
have
me,
accepted that.
to me, it's
Maybe
a
a
cartoon.
stomp.
It's
yeah,
supposed to
that's
be like
think
that.
that's the satire that he's
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah, but I guess that maybe gives an ape-like feature to it. I think.
Nah,
possibly.
to me,
it's
it's-
baby.
My
Yeah.
problem is all in the face area. I'm completely
Yeah.
okay with
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think I agree with that. If the face hadn't been done like that,
Mm.
I don't think we would have been talking about this.
At least not to the degree.
Maybe just the Naomi part. If the Naomi was also her actual skin color,
That part just baffles me.
it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't like
You
check
think you
what she
get-
actually looked like before doing
You
it.
think you get people to double check things before you publish them, right?
I don't think there's that
be
many people
surprised.
working in Australian media. I don't think they make that much money anymore, to be honest. I think they're trying to squeeze every dollar they can.
Yeah.
They probably don't have a load of editors
to look
going over
things.
everything.
Yeah,
They have so many spelling errors.
that's
do they-
true.
in their
Do you
news
think
now.
they know there's a computer shop called PC World?
Is it
Yeah.
free
Wow.
advertisement?
Yeah,
New sponsor, hit us up. PC World.
I doubt it.
Great way to end that topic. There's nothing more to talk about on that.
I don't. Yeah.
All right.
There probably is.